He used to think love was about giving, about adjusting, about being easy to be around. So he became the man who adapted, the man who went with the flow, the man who said, "Whatever makes you happy." But over time, he forgot what made him happy. At first it felt like love, compromising, agreeing, avoiding conflict. But slowly, the lines blurred between love and surrender. He stopped offering and started submitting. He thought he was being noble, keeping the peace. But what he was doing was erasing himself. One small decision at a time. He stopped choosing the restaurant, stopped picking the movie, stopped planning his weekend unless she approved. He lost track of his preferences, his desires, his voice, until one day he woke up and realized he wasn't a partner anymore. He was a passenger in someone else's life. And the saddest part? She didn't even ask for that. She wanted a man with direction, a man with opinions, a man who could lead. But he thought love meant always bending. So she stopped looking at him like a leader, and he started looking at himself like a burden. That's what happens when a man loses his frame. He doesn't just lose control, he loses respect. First, hers, then his own. Because a man without a frame isn't loved more. He's tolerated more and desired less. And the more he gives himself away piece by piece, the more invisible he becomes. Until the breakup isn't even a fight. It's just a quiet exit. And she leaves without tears. Because the man she fell for had disappeared long ago. He didn't lose it all at once. There was no crash, no shouting, no dramatic turning point. Just little things. Small compromises that seemed harmless. Moments when he chose comfort over clarity. Peace over principles. Like when he laughed at a joke that cut too deep. Or stayed silent when something didn't sit right. Or said yes, even when everything inside him whispered no. At first it looked like kindness, like emotional intelligence, like maturity. But underneath was fear. Fear of being too much. Fear of rocking the boat. Fear of losing someone by standing firm in who he is. So he softened his words, lowered his standards, pushed down his instincts. He called it growth. But deep down, it was retreat. Because here's the truth. When a man loses his frame, he becomes easy to be around, but hard to respect. He becomes agreeable, but forgettable. The woman in his life might say, "I just wish you'd take the lead." But every time he tries, she questions him, challenges him, pushes back, until eventually he stops leading altogether and starts asking for permission. "Is this okay? Do you mind if I? What do you think I should do?" Not because he lacks ideas, but because he no longer trusts his own. He fears that one wrong move will shatter everything, so he walks on eggshells, smiles when he's tired, nods when he disagrees, and at some point, he disappears. Not physically, emotionally, spiritually. His presence fades. He's still there paying bills, showing up, doing the right things, but the fire in his chest, gone. The direction in his soul, lost. And he wonders, quietly, why don't I feel like a man anymore? It's not because he's weak. It's because his frame, the invisible structure that once gave his life clarity and strength, has cracked. And no one told him that when you live without a frame, you don't just lose your edge. You lose yourself. A frame is not a rulebook. It's not about being rigid, cold, or controlling. It's about being rooted. It's the invisible structure that shapes how a man sees the world and how the world sees him. It's his values, his boundaries, his vision. It's the filter he uses to decide what he allows and what he won't tolerate. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. But it's unshakable. Think of a house. The frame is what keeps it standing when storms hit, when seasons change. You don't see the frame, but without it, the walls collapse. It's the same with a man. A man with a frame doesn't need to raise his voice. His presence speaks for him. He doesn't beg for respect. He lives in a way that commands it. He doesn't chase validation, because his worth isn't up for debate. His yes means something because he knows when to say no. He's not swayed by pressure, not desperate for approval, not tossed around by every emotional wave that hits him. He leads calmly, consistently, and when life throws him chaos, he doesn't panic. He pauses, and then he acts with intention. That's a man with a frame. Now contrast that with the man who's lost his. He waits for others to decide how he feels. He's reactive, not proactive. He over-explains, over-apologizes, overcompensates. Not because he's weak, but because he's disconnected from his own center. And here's the dangerous part. When a man doesn't create his own frame, he lives inside someone else's present. Her frame, their frame, the world's frame. And slowly, piece by piece, he forgets what he stands for. That's why reclaiming your frame isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you were before you started performing, before you softened your voice to keep the peace, before you said yes just to be liked, before you made yourself smaller just to fit into someone else's expectations. To live with a frame is to live with direction. It's not about being hard. It's about being clear, because clarity is power. And when a man stands in clarity, he doesn't need to control anyone. He simply refuses to be controlled. You don't build a frame by yelling, or dominating, or pretending to have it all figured out. You build it in quiet, consistent ways, in how you think, how you act, and what you no longer tolerate. Here's where it begins. 1. Decide what's non-negotiable. Every man must know what's sacred to him, not optional, not flexible, sacred. It could be your peace, your time, your role as a father, your morning routine, your faith, your mission. Whatever it is, define it, write it down, etch it into your bones. Because when you know what's non-negotiable, you stop trading yourself for someone else's comfort. 2. Learn to say no without guilt. A man without a frame says yes to everything and regrets it later. A man with a frame says no when something violates his standards and stands by it. This isn't about being rude. It's about being rooted. No is not a rejection of others. It's a declaration of self-respect. When you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what grows you. 3. Stop explaining yourself. Not everyone will understand your standards. Not everyone needs to. Your decision don't require a TED Talk. Your clarity doesn't need permission. When you constantly explain, defend, and justify, you leak power. Speak less, mean more. Let your presence do the explaining. 4. Detach from approval and anchor to purpose. The most dangerous addiction isn't alcohol, drugs, or porn. It's approval. Living for likes instead of living in truth. Trying to be liked instead of being respected. But here's the shift. When you anchor your life to purpose, approval becomes irrelevant. You're not here to impress. You're here to impact. 5. Don't lead to be loved. Lead because you're built to lead. Many men soften their leadership to keep the relationship comfortable. They hesitate, they defer, they shrink. But true leadership isn't control, it's clarity. You lead because you have a vision, because you're building something, because your soul won't let you stay small. And if someone can't handle that, they're not ready for your world. Building your frame doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily discipline. 1,000 small decisions, 100 kietstands, and one unshakable commitment. I will not abandon myself to be accepted. Here's a truth that many men learn too late. Women don't want a man they can control. They want a man they can trust to lead, not with an iron fist, not with loud commands, but with quiet clarity. A man with a frame doesn't try to control her. He controls himself. He knows what he stands for. He doesn't bend every time she tests him, and yes, she will test him. Not because she wants to break him, but because she wants to feel him. She wants to know, will he hold his ground? Will he speak up when something feels off? Will he protect his values even when it's inconvenient? When a man fails those tests, when he folds, appeases, avoids conflict, she may not even realize it, but something inside her pulls back. The polarity fades, the desire softens, respect begins to slip, and without respect, love can't breathe. A man with a strong frame doesn't need to raise his voice. He doesn't chase. He doesn't beg. He sets the tone calmly, confidently, and in return, a woman feels safer to relax into her feminine, to soften, to trust, because she knows, this man won't lose himself for me, so I can trust that he won't lose me either. Being nice isn't the goal. Being respected is, because when a man stands rooted in his frame, he becomes the mountain. And the feminine doesn't fear the mountain. She longs to rest against it. A man who doesn't know who he is will be shaped by the woman he wants. He'll take on her schedule, her moods, her values, her mission. And at first, it may feel like connection, like love, like being a supportive partner, but over time, he begins to vanish. His decisions become hesitant, his direction gets blurry, his spirit silent. He becomes a man who waits to be told, waits to be needed, waits to be wanted. But here's the painful truth. Women don't truly desire a man who waits. They desire a man who leads himself, not to dominate, not to suppress, but to guide. And when you don't have a frame, you can't guide, because you don't have a path. You're not building a life, you're borrowing one. So what happens? You lose her. You lose yourself. And then you wonder why everything feels empty, even when you did everything right. The answer? You weren't wrong for loving her. You were wrong for leaving yourself. A woman should be invited into your life, not made the architect of it. You set the tone. You build the rhythm. You create the frame. And if she can't respect it, she's not meant to fit inside it. Because real love doesn't ask you to disappear. It calls you to stand, firm, clear, and unshakably you.